See, it's a cold world that we living in, y'all. Bad enough you got Diddy around here passing out herpes, but you have inmates who are in prison who knows that they're HIV positive or they have full-blown AIDS, and they have made a pact when they get out, they're going to infect as many people as possible. See, this is why a lot of y'all that been going to them Diddy parties, man, like PD cakes and all them, man, y'all need to go get yourself checked. Or better yet, I bet y'all using that medication that keeps you undetectable or keeps you from passing it on. But anyway, word of timeless, man. We need to have a little bit more accountability in this country.
Disturbing reports are coming from a prison doctor regarding P. Diddy, who is reportedly battling HIV after recent events. The allegations involve forced relationships, the use of contaminated syringes, and frightening conspiracies that have put his life in danger. What is truly going on behind bars? P. Diddy appears to continue engaging in criminal activities even while incarcerated. But does he deserve this fate? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In this video, we'll hear from the prison's chief doctor as he details the shocking and troubling events that P. Diddy has been involved in and how his actions may be affecting the health of other prisoners. Before we dive in, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more shocking revelations like this. The truth is about to come to light. The chief doctor's report begins as follows. I work in the medical wing of one of the most notorious prisons in the country, and what I'm about to share is based on what I've witnessed firsthand. When P. Diddy was brought in, there was an immediate buzz in the halls. A man of his fame and wealth quickly becomes a target. In prison, fame doesn't protect you, it makes you vulnerable. At first, he seemed to isolate himself, but in this environment, no one can hide for long. Fame attracts attention, and here, that attention isn't always positive. Rumors started circulating that he was being pressured by a group of highly dangerous prisoners. These men control large sections of the prison, almost like kings ruling their kingdoms. They offered new inmates proposals that, if refused, come with severe consequences. In P. Diddy's case, things were even more complicated. The immense psychological pressure, the fame, the public trial, the isolation left him emotionally vulnerable, making him an easy target. One day, he came to the medical ward with superficial injuries, which isn't uncommon. His explanation was vague, but his facial expression told a different story. I recognized that look. It's the expression of someone forced into something against their will. While I can't share explicit details due to ethical reasons, I can say his behavior changed drastically afterward. He became more withdrawn, darker. A few weeks later, signs of infection appeared. Routine tests for communicable diseases revealed concerns. While I can't confirm anything officially as a doctor, it's hard to ignore the patterns. HIV transmission in prisons is sadly not uncommon, especially when coercion or violence is involved. What's even more tragic is that P. Diddy, who once seemed invincible, had become a man visibly broken inside. His psychological state combined with the risk of physical exposure created a tragic inevitability. In the harsh world of prison, vulnerability is often exploited, and for someone like P. Diddy, this vulnerability became a weapon used against him. Another hidden dark side of prison life is the widespread issue of drugs. Yes, even behind bars, illicit substances are common. I've treated countless prisoners suffering from overdoses or infections caused by sharing needles. The trafficking of drugs within prisons is a sophisticated operation. By the time P. Diddy arrived, he was visibly shaken. This wasn't the man we knew. Fame, money, and power meant little here. It didn't take long before rumors spread that he was using drugs. He denied it at first, like many inmates do, but the marks on his body began to tell a different story. One day, he came in with an infection in his arm, a swollen area, inflamed. He claimed it was from a fight, but I could see through his story. In many cases, inmates are too ashamed or afraid to admit to drug use. The syringes here are reused without sterilization, making them a deadly risk. Many prisoners use drugs as an escape from their grim realities, and it seemed P. Diddy was no exception. The emotional weight and constant threats could drive anyone to seek relief, even at the cost of their health. When I examined him, I saw more than just physical signs. I saw a resignation, a kind of indifference toward his well-being. He seemed to have given up, And whether it was a deliberate act of self-sabotage or not, it wouldn't be the first time I've seen someone attempt to hasten their own end in such a harsh environment. Prison violence is also rampant. Fights break out over anything: territory disputes, debts, or even something as small as a look. I've treated countless injuries caused by fights, and these altercations don't just involve punches. Improvised weapons like metal shards or plastic are common. P. Diddy quickly became a target because of his fame. In a place where everyone wants to prove themselves, his celebrity status became both a shield and a threat. One day, he arrived at the infirmary with severe cuts on his face and arms. He said he'd been attacked in the cafeteria, but I could tell there was more to the story. The injuries were significant, and it was clear he'd been in a serious fight. Here's where things get even more complicated. In these fights, direct contact with blood is common. Whether it's through cuts or falls on bloody floors, the risk of disease transmission is high. HIV, hepatitis C, and other infections can be spread through these injuries. P. Diddy wasn't immune to this danger. The injuries he sustained raised red flags, and once again, his expression told the story. Physical pain was only part of it. There was an emotional toll, a silent acceptance that each injury brought him closer to an inevitable fate. Worse still, he seemed to avoid regular medical care, likely out of fear of an HIV diagnosis or other complications. Many prisoners suspect something is wrong but choose to ignore it because the truth is too overwhelming. In P. Diddy's case, it seemed like he was on a self-destructive path, using each fight and injury to accelerate his decline. Working in this environment, I've come to realize that the real enemy for many inmates isn't the system or other prisoners. It's their own minds. For some, prison is more than just punishment. It's a place where they lose the battle against themselves. P. Diddy, once a man who had everything, was now facing the raw truth of his situation. Without his fame or wealth, he seemed to be crumbling emotionally, unable to escape the realities of prison life. There were signs of self-destructive behavior, unexplained cuts and marks on his body, injuries that didn't match his stories. As a doctor, it was clear to me that he wasn't just physically hurting, he was emotionally devastated. Reports from other prisoners added to my concern. They mentioned that he had been isolating himself, rejecting offers of protection, even refusing food on some days. This is a clear sign of someone spiraling downward. When an inmate pulls away from the little support they have, it's a sign that they're in serious emotional distress. Another worrying trend was his refusal to accept medical care. When I examined him, it was clear he was ignoring infections and other health problems that could worsen over time. This behavior isn't unusual for those who've lost hope. They stop caring about their health because, deep down, they feel it's no longer worth it.